All right. Hello, everyone, and thank you so much for spending your Thursday afternoon with us. We're really excited to be doing this with you all. And I want to take a moment to just introduce myself. Most of you know me. My name is Susie Freeman. I'm the Partner Services Manager, and I am joined by the lovely Kelly Boycourt. And Kelly is our Community Programs Coordinator, specializing in partner services. And so today we're going to be talking about creating a client-first pantry experience. And this is the first of hopefully an ongoing agency learning webinar series. We are recording this. It's also being transcribed, and then afterwards we will share it with everyone as well. So we will get to it. So why are we talking about this? COVID-19 made us all very quickly reevaluate and implement a variety of new practices. We had to think and serve differently. How many home deliveries can we do? Is it safe for visitors to enter our pantry? Masks or no mask? And how long does a virus live on cardboard? Now, as we move to this new normal, many pantries are rethinking how they can best serve their visitors going into the future. We also saw a big shift in the type of need we served in SLO County. Pre-2020, people went to pantries for emergency food assistance. They usually stopped by once a month, and it tended to be households already receiving assistance of some kind. Now, many households are going to pantries every single week. Instead of being a stopgap, many people are using pantries because that's the only way they can balance their household budgets. And what do we mean by client first? So today's pantry visitors are feeling pretty low. There was a recent local pantry visitor that shared with a SLO Food Bank employee that their current lot was the most humbling, the most embarrassing, and the most humiliating experience of their entire life. People going to pantries are often very fragile and emotional. By making sure that we prioritize them during their visit and create a welcoming and safe place where they feel valued and worthy, we in turn are lifting up every member of our community and helping those in need back on their feet. On the flip side, as food providers, we can't do everything, and really we shouldn't. It's easy to say yes to every opportunity that we think we should use to better serve our clients and give in to mission creep, as tempting as it can be. But that means we might lose sight of our true goal. And for us, our collective goal is to alleviate food insecurity in SLO County. I also want to touch on the meaning of food insecurity for a second. It's a term that gets tossed around a bit, and it's not always fully understood what we mean by that. So, by definition, food insecurity means a household's inability to provide enough food for every person to live an active and healthy life. And it can also mean a reduction in the amount of nutritional quality of food eaten in a household due to lack of money or resources. As I move forward through this presentation, food insecurity may come up again. So I wanted to make sure everyone was on the same page before I started talking about it. So to support you, the pantry workers and volunteers on the front lines of hunger, help them, our pantry visitors, we created this opportunity to lay out the resources that are available to better serve those visitors. First, we will be talking about easy ways to improve client experience, and then Kelly will share some of the food distribution strategies and pantry models that are used in SLO County today and how they help create that client-first experience. And so I'm going to start with those 4 main easy ways that we use to improve client experience. We kind of broken them down into 4 categories. We have share the load, make yourselves known, client engagement, and accessibility. So share the load. Oh, we got some echo. One sec. Okay. Thank you, Kelly. So sorry. As I said earlier, one pantry simply can't take care of all the needs of a single community. Fortunately, we have a pretty robust hunger relief network here in SLO County with 41 public agency partner run pantries and meal sites, 52 SLO Food Bank run neighborhood food distributions, and dozens more independent pantries of every kind. We have little free pantries, pop up pantries, church pantries, and oftentimes the sporadic community dinner that's hosted as well. Many of these locations are listed on the resource calendar, and you can see that on the right here. We update this resource calendar on a regular basis and then try to get it out to you guys. It can also be found on our website. If you haven't already, I would encourage you to reach out to those neighboring pantries. Get to know their resources and their hours. Then, as a particular food related need comes up from one of your clients, you can direct them to another pantry that might be a better match for those households. And then many of your visitors may ask for help because, say, their landlord's going to evict them, they need medical care or child care assistance. There are dozens of local nonprofits dedicated to meeting those more specific needs, many of which are also listed on the Hunger Relief Network toolbox. And if you think someone needs more comprehensive assistance, directing them to your local Department of Social Services office or Family Resource Center may get them a professional dedicated to getting them the assistance that they need. And also, if you're finding that maybe this individual that you're working with just needs more money to buy food, please ask them to consider CalFresh, or maybe they're part of a young family WIC. Both of those programs can provide people with a debit card that they can use to buy food at grocery stores, farmers markets, or even online, like on Amazon. Oh, and I also wanted to point out, you can see at both of these pantry examples, we have New Life Church in Pismo Beach and then Alf Food Pantry in Atascadero. They actually have laid out a number of these different resources. They're just information pamphlets. It's really easy to set up. It's not something that has to be too fancy, or um, some people get very into it, but just having it out and available is a big first step. And so next is make yourselves known. At the SLO Food Bank, we oftentimes have first-time visitors that come from North County or the coast, and they drive all the way to the SLO Food Bank for food simply because they didn't know where else to go. To reach everyone, a pantry should try their best to widely communicate your hours and offerings on numerous platforms, like websites, social media, even signage. You can see some great examples here from Five Cities Christian Women, St. Patrick's, and then the Youth Pick Pantry, which is New Life Church's pantry. Um, for many pantries, a big first step would be just to post a sign for your hours at your pantry location. Since people heading to your pantry for the first time may be maybe unsure or nervous, letting them know right off the bat that they're in the right place is a big reassurance for them. And this is a great example, and I wish I had a picture of it. So the New Life Church actually put up a giant 20-foot tall poster on the wall leading to their pantry door. There's absolutely no question as to where you are once you see it, and you know that you're in the right place if you're looking for food. And once you've determined what those hours are, be consistent. We've run into pantries that will say like, okay, we're going to do Tuesdays at 4. Actually, we need to do Fridays at 5. And it gets really confusing to have inconsistent hours. And then they're wondering why people aren't attending. People can't plan on something that's not easily known when you're going to be hosting those next hours. I wanted to point out St. Patrick's outreach sign. As you can tell, this sign has been up for a long time, and they have stuck to those hours, I know, for at least a decade, but likely more. But just having that consistency so that people know when and where they can go for food. Oh, sorry. It's a little bit delayed on my side, so sorry about that. So I did want to touch on the fact that closures do happen. Um, but if it does, just make sure people know. It can be due to maybe holidays or just staffing issues. But as long as you're able to clearly communicate what the closure is, how long it is, what day it's affected, and clear, like using clear bilingual signs, as you can see on the door. Actually, you can't see it very well, but it says closed Monday, July 3rd, and then also in Spanish, which I won't mispronounce here. But you can very clearly see exactly when it's going to be closed and how long that will be. Um, and then another example here at the SLO Food Bank, we try to notify people at least 30 days in advance of any anticipated closure, change, or cancellation of any of our neighborhood food distributions. Another great thing to do is to provide other options of local food distribution sites. On the left, you can see an example of something that we produced for Nipomo Community Presbyterian's Pantry when they had to close on short notice. You can see on here there's 2 SLO Food Bank distributions and then also 4 different agency partner sites. So if someone's in dire need of food during that closure, they know where else they can turn to receive food during that time. And then the third way to improve client experience is through engagement or how to get your pantry visitors involved. When given the opportunity, people usually love to share what they think about something. And that includes your pantry service. So you can have a really formal process. This is an example of a pantry client satisfaction survey that we did at our own SLO Food Bank pantry. Maybe it's just having client comment cards available for people to complete, or even easier, just ask them. Having a conversation is a good way to learn why people are going to your pantry and what they would like to see moving forward. And then earlier, kind of backing up to the definition of food insecurity, it included the clause of the reduction of nutritional quality of food. And that is a key aspect of food insecurity. So, pantries can help address this by expanding the food literacy of their guests through nutrition education and culinary exploration. You can do things like offering samples, recipe demonstrations, cooking or nutrition courses, making meal kits, and also just displaying information about specific foods. And you can see 3 of examples that are actually part of our nutrition team, but I've seen local pantries do it as well. You can see a great little food activity for kids where they're making rainbows out of different foods, mostly fruits and vegetables. These are recipe cards that on the flip side is the recipe itself, but you can just hang this in the pantry and it can flip right up. And then, of course, there's samples. This is particularly good if you have something interesting. Like, as many of you know, we have pineapple guava, which you can make different smoothies out of, or Frank's wife made a pie, which was delicious. And just opening up that food horizon for your visitors. I also wanted to point out on PWW, we have this section called New and Exciting Products. And whenever you see a blue link, if you click that, that will actually lead you to a recipe card that features that specific product. And the recipes, I know right here it's just English, but it is actually double-sided. And so on the other side is Spanish. You can easily print those out and then either include them in, say you have grocery bags going out, or just on the shelves for people to access as they're selecting their own product. And then lastly is offering for client engagement is offering on-site resource options. People that are taking advantage of food resources oftentimes are limited for time and gas. So having those on-site resources can give them a chance to learn about or gain access to resources that they likely qualify for, but they haven't been able to partake in previously. So if you can, try to promote these resources to your guests ahead of time. An easy quarter page flyer or a small poster works great. Um, You can see this is at SLO Food Pantry. They hosted a COVID-19 vaccine clinic last year. And then this was actually just a few weeks ago over at Echo. They had a CalFresh application assistance site right there for their own guests to partake in. And if there's any particular service that you guys are interested for your guests, but you don't know how to get started or who to contact, please feel free to reach out to us and we can help point you in the right direction. We also have a full list of local service providers on the Hunger Relief Network Toolbox, which is on the SLO Food Bank's website. And then finally, accessibility. Often there are different barriers that might be faced by a household as they try to get food. The most common barriers we see are related to language, familiarity, and time. So language is straightforward. If you can't read or comprehend what is being said, you won't know the basics. When should I show up? What should I bring? What should I expect? It's not reasonable to accommodate all the languages spoken in SLO County, but every pantry should at least be bilingual, and that means English and Spanish signs, materials, and paperwork. Here you can see an example at New Life Church. They have bilingual signs on every one of their shelves. This is also, I want to call out back to meal kits. They set it up so it's peanut butter, jelly, and bread, so you can make a PB&J sandwich with everything just on that shelf. And then, and also ideally, you'll hopefully have an on-site bilingual volunteer. It's not critical, but we see there's a big correlation between the number of Spanish speakers going to sites with a bilingual volunteer there and those that do not. And then familiarity. So this is simply when people don't know what they're doing. With the mass layoffs due to COVID-19, we saw floods of people that had never sought assistance before heading to the SLO Food Bank. Up until that point, we often provided just emergency food assistance, but we weren't really we made sure no one left empty-handed, but we weren't equipped at that time to serve a lot of the more specific needs of those that were coming and visiting us. We strongly encourage agencies to share a similar approach. If someone shows up at your door, but they don't have a photo ID, they live in the wrong zip code, or whatever qualification you have for your program, just do your best not to let them leave empty-handed. After serving them, just let them know what they should do for next time. So that might be telling them about a pantry that may be closer for them, or just a simple reminder to bring your photo ID next time. And then the last thing is time. Time is a very common issue brought up by a number of agencies. They don't know how to manage the wait time at their facility. They have a long line. It's sometimes disruptive to others in the community. What we've actually seen, well, there's a lot of different solutions, but what we've seen come up time and time again is this super simple system where right before the pantry opens, handing out numbers. So this is out at St. Patrick's Outreach, and you can see they actually have poker chips that they put numbers on. And so at 5 minutes before 4, because they open at 4, they hand out all these numbers to people in line. It doesn't matter if people show up at 2, they're going to still get a number. And it's really helped cut down on the amount of people just kind of loitering there ahead of time for them. And then I'm going to transition over to Kelly, who's going to share about some of the food distribution strategies and pantry models.
Right. Thank you, Susie, and welcome everyone. Even though we're midway through, I was going to mention too, if you guys have any questions along the way or comments, feel free to either share it in the chat function, or you can also use the raise hand feature and we can unmute you to navigate that. And we'll be emailing a lot of information out as well. But yeah, as Susie mentioned, I'm going to take over from here and go into some food distribution strategies and pantry models, along with some exciting local examples of what local pantries and agency partners are doing as well. So when Susie and I were kind of planning this webinar, we were trying to think of a way to kind of encompass more of all these different aspects of food distribution, food insecurity, food assistance that is being provided. And we kind of came up with a modified spectrum. There's a lot of different models, put out by different agencies, nationwide. And we were trying to think of how we wanted to present it here. And for us, that's a continuum or spectrum of options of how to deliver food to those in need. So on one end over here, we see prepackaged, meaning prepackaged units of food are going out directly to clients. And at the other end of the spectrum, we have the client shopping experience, which we'll go into more in depth, but it's basically like shopping at a grocery store. And those are kind of the bookends. There might be some that even push the spectrum further. It's not static. It is a fluid, moving, ever evolving thing. Kind of correlating to the spectrum at the top is the amount of client choice that can be offered within these different models. But again, that's not a linear nor static spectrum alongside prepackaged and client shopping. There are opportunities to offer choice to clients within all areas of the spectrum. And then these green boxed items in the middle are all the various factors that, and again, there are many more, that might affect where your specific food program or where a specific food pantry ends up on that spectrum, as well as what you might adjust over the course of a year between different seasons, or just depending on, volunteer staffing. It might shift you on the spectrum either permanently or temporarily. So on our one end, we have prepackaged. This is distribution of pre-packed bags of food to clients. We have an example here from Mountain Brook Church Food Pantry in San Luis Obispo, and we'll kind of touch on another aspect of their food programming as well. And then we also have Alf Food Pantry in Atascadero, both showing examples of these pre-packed options. Another really big example we didn't include, because I'm sure you all have seen it, is the SLO Food Bank. We are a big fan of pre-packaged units of distribution fitting in with our model, which I'll touch on a little more too, but that's most likely what you would see at a neighborhood food distribution, as well as right now if someone comes on site. Our client choice pantry is undergoing construction, so right now we're offering pre-packaged units. So what are some of the advantages and challenges here? I think one of the big ones that jumps out right away is this is an efficient model of food distribution. Volunteers can pack up these bags ahead of time and then quickly translate to maybe an hour-long food distribution. With consistent service, agencies are also aware of usually they have a good estimate of how many people are going to be attending, which also helps to make that quick and efficient. During the pandemic and depending on there's been various waves, peak periods of COVID, these prepackaged models can quickly translate to a drive-through style. And then sometimes volunteers find or an agency finds that that's how they always want to do it. And it might even be what their clients prefer. They just want to quickly swing by and grab their groceries. It's also great for smaller volunteer groups. Again, you can maybe have one shift of volunteers packing the bags, the other shift distributes. And it's also just easier if you have a smaller group. It's easier to accommodate. It also works for smaller spaces. You just need enough room for somebody to come by, grab the food. For some of the challenges that might pop up with this model. We're going to go more in depth, but you can see them there that, maybe clients aren't getting foods they want. They might have a very large household, but they only get one bag of groceries because that's the standard allotment for your pantry. There's not as much opportunity for interacting, and that can sometimes lead to a more impersonal shopping experience. So what can we do about the perhaps unwanted foods that clients are receiving? You can see here, this is a photo of a take it or leave it box. And that's kind of a solution that's pretty easy to implement. You can create this with a box, an additional table, and clients can decide if there's something in their prepackaged grocery bag they don't want, they can leave it in the box. There's an example of this at ALF. And one thing I want to point out is this is after clients have already received their food. So it's taking off the burden of maybe someone in line who's, trying to shuffle through their bag and causing others to wait longer. If it's at the end and maybe placed a little bit away from the end of the line, that's a great opportunity for clients to take a look in there, put something they may not want, or take something that someone else didn't want but they have a use for. And again, this is pretty easy to implement. You just need about one box. If you want a durable one, get reusable storage bin like Alpha's using. Another option to address some of the challenges of prepackaged food distribution is being more flexible for different household needs and preferences. So, one option can be different prepackaged bags, such as a vegetarian bag or gluten-free bag. You can see an example at the SLO Food Bank. I mentioned that we're offering mostly prepackaged units right now. We did notice there was a need from some unhoused clients where they wanted to receive produce and fresh fruit. However, something like cauliflower wasn't necessarily great for them. I'm a vegetarian. I don't want to eat an entire head of raw cauliflower, but I would appreciate oranges or bananas. So we created traditional produce bags, meaning that has vegetables that probably are best cooked, but also no cook produce bags so that we can offer a no cook shelf stable bag with proteins as well as fresh fruit and vegetables for people who may need them. Another example of kind of offering a pre-packaged grocery unit to a different preference would be our breakfast bags, a summer program. Those are geared specifically for children to cover breakfast. And that's something that's easy at the start of a food distribution to ask a household, do you have any children? How many? Can we offer you a breakfast bag to help meet those breakfast needs? Right, and this is just another example. I mentioned I was going to touch on Mountain Brook again. So while you can see the pre-packed grocery bags they have in the back, another option is to offer some pre-packaged and some choice options. So here you can see that on the tables they have individually packaged produce and bread and other things where someone can grab the main item of the grocery bag and then select kind of supplemental items. For the other challenges to the prepackaged method, um, while some of the solutions I just mentioned definitely affect maybe the amount of interactions you're having and making it a more personalized experience, those two challenges are also best addressed with more choice options and might make it easier with some easy choice options. And that comes kind of in the form at the other end of the spectrum. You might nudge over towards more client choice. And to go over the other end of the spectrum first, that's kind of the most choice is client shopping. So that's pretty much what it sounds like. It's as if a client is shopping at a grocery store. So you can see at New Life Church, there are some clients shopping, and you notice that the food is not prepackaged. It's on the shelves, displayed clearly. Clients are actually physically picking up and choosing which food they want. Another example is the pantry at the SLO Food Bank. When it was open, clients could enter that and very much select the foods that they wanted. But again, this model, because no one model fits all and no one model is best, also comes with different advantages and challenges. You can see them outlined here, but I think some of the main advantages are, it's maintaining a lot of dignity and self-reliance when clients are able to choose exactly what they want. It allows for kind of more flexible jobs and timing for volunteers, which we'll kind of illustrate with some local examples. Another cool thing about this model is you get immediate feedback on food preferences and needs. And what that kind of means is, something that happened when we had our pantry open is I would regularly walk in there midway through pantry hours and see that the canned protein, canned meat, immediate feedback that that was high demand because that section was usually wiped clean. So you can really see what your clients are using and what they need. Some challenges would be regulating the fair distribution of available food and maintaining your inventory. There can be longer setup and cleanup before the pantry hours. Physical layout and space is also a factor, as well as wait times. So we'll go through some of those. So what do you do to make sure everybody has food? The challenge is making sure it's a fair distribution and there's enough food for all your clients. You can see that King's Cupboard in Los Osos, which has a kind of table shopping model, has shopping assistants, and they can stand at various points throughout the pantry. Some pantries have one shopping assistant per client that will actually walk through, and that also increases client engagement. So that's a great way to do it. And then Mountain Brook Pantry, again, has opted for pre-portioned food items. So they also have shopping assistants, but if there are more clients in there, it's also just more intuitive to grab 1 or 2 bags for your household rather than a large box of food. And then another system, which we'll touch a little bit more on too, is assigning some sort of value or kind of point system to different items. So New Life in Pismo Beach utilizes a point system. Every item gets a colored sticker indicating the value, the point value. And then there's keys posted throughout the pantries of what a 5-point item is or what the color means. And then different household sizes get a different amount of points. Another system that could be used is total weight of food. If you didn't want to individually sticker each item, you could go by total weight per household size. Honor system can work too if you have a checkout process and if somebody, kind of indicates their household size is small and that's also, and they have a lot of food, you can check in with that client and say, are you unable to come next week? Do you need more food? And so even within the honor system, you can increase client engagement and also just double check that someone is taking an appropriate amount because you also don't want them to take home too much and have it go bad. Another one too, I mentioned the physical layout of client shopping models. This is a great example because not every pantry has the space to allow clients inside to shop for food or to display all that food on shelves. So this is something where if you had a drive-through model, you could maybe, if you wanted to offer more choice, switch to tables. But in general, portable coolers are great. They're amazing to keep temperature-sensitive food safe, as well as allow more time for clients to shop. And then additionally, you can hold a client shopping experience outside, without a refrigerator or freezer. This model can also work really well. For a lot of agency partners of the food bank, you pick up food once a week, and then usually the distribution time is right after that food pickup. And if you're, wondering like, well, we don't even have a refrigerator and a freezer, that's another opportunity to use portable coolers if you wanted to offer more choice or change the setup. So back to the spectrum that we're kind of revisiting. So we went over the two kind of bookends, the prepackaged units and client shopping. And I kind of touched on a couple scenarios where you can see that they don't clearly fall strictly into those like two ends of the spectrum. There are different pantries that exist all along it depending on those needs. So we're going to go over a couple of the models that fall in between. And what's really cool is they're all local examples of where they fall in our SLO County community. So list model. This one works in a very simple way. Pantries provide an available shopping list of items to clients. Clients will fill out which items they want, and then those are packed by staff or volunteers in the pantry, and then the groceries are delivered to the client. This is, again, a great option if you don't have a lot of room for clients to shop. Some of the challenges here are clients aren't able to see the food before they receive it, as well as maintaining that list can be pretty labor intensive for pantries if you're printing it out. So you can use a digital list. If things are digital, you can also provide photos of products to clients. I did want to mention Alf Food Pantry in Atascadero for a long time used this list model. However, they were noticing an increased client waiting time. And of course, clients are busy. They need to get to work. They need to get their groceries and head home to be with their family. So ALF transitioned from that list model to more of a client intake process with prepackaged units. But even with that client intake process, ALF is still able to ascertain if clients need maybe supplemental items, supplemental food, do they have children in the family, things like that. So even without the list model, that's also a great stepping stone to a different variety of things. And then table model, which we've gotten some previews of. Again, we have Mountain Brook Church's food pantry with items on the table and St. Patrick's Outreach in Arroyo Grande. So here, available food is set out and displayed on tables, and clients can navigate and walk through the food and select it on their own or with a pantry volunteer. This is really easy to implement if you don't have an indoor storage space for somebody to go in and shop. You can get a couple tables and put out the food. At Mountain Brook, they really like utilizing this table method because their food storage space is in the far back of the church, whereas clients come to receive food in the front of the church. So they utilize carts as well as those prepackaged groceries. The prepackaged groceries, they can hand a bag to a client while the client shops the tables. St. Patrick's Outreach is similar. They offer a large bag of groceries once a month to clients who reside in their service area, but clients are welcome to shop the tables of kind of supplemental items and take as many as they want or need. And so again, these are just kind of two different models, or two models kind of acting in different ways to best fit these individual pantries. So kind of where we've talked a lot about different pantries in this area, and we're kind of going back to the spectrum, and you'll notice we've filled in, instead of the factors that affect where a pantry falls on the spectrum, we've highlighted where some of the pantries that in our county fall. And just want to stress that where an agency, a food pantry or food program is on the spectrum does not correlate at all to whether it's good or bad, right or wrong, efficient, non-efficient. It's important to have, our neighborhood food distributions in Zion Lutheran Church locally distributing more prepackaged units, just as it's important for clients to be able to visit Mountain Brook or St. Patrick's Outreach or King's Cupboard, to get some supplemental items in addition to prepackaged, or the option to go to complete client choice and things like that. Susie mentioned at the beginning of this webinar that the pandemic really shifted what we were seeing in the food insecurity and food needs of the community. It went from maybe monthly visits to weekly visits. And I think in general, too, with the pandemic, we just saw a huge increase in general need. And that's why it's so crucial that we have this network of every agency falling somewhere on the spectrum, because they can better serve all community members and neighbors in SLO County. Some clients don't have time. They need a quick drive-through distribution to know that they're going to have food to put on the table. Whereas other people might just need some supplemental help. Maybe they don't need it every week, just once a month, and just a couple items that, they can't get at their local grocery store. And so that's why the spectrum exists and why it's so great that we have this wonderful network that helps to fill all areas of the spectrum to make sure we can serve all our clients. And then I think I'm going to hand it back over to Susie. You're muted, Susie.
All right. Thank you so much, Kelly, for really kind of tying the bow on that and letting people know why we're talking about this and what that really means and how we're better able to serve each household's individual food needs by having a variety of different services available throughout the county. So I realize that this was a lot of information, and you may be wondering where to start. We'd like to recommend that each organization take some time to honestly evaluate their program and identify ways you can better improve your own client experience. I know this is something that we are likely going to be going through as we approach opening our own pantry back on site as well. To help guide you, we will be sharing this great self-assessment tool that was developed by Indie Hunger Network, an Indiana-based hunger relief organization. It's pretty comprehensive, and will walk you through all the various facets of a pantry operation and help you identify areas that you might be able to improve. This will be emailed out to you and also available on the Hunger Relief Network toolbox. And so at this time, I'd love to open the floor up to any questions that you may have. You can use the raised hand icon. It's under reactions at the top bar. And if you prefer, you can type something in the chat as well. And don't worry if you have a question that you rather bring up to Kelly or I afterwards. Here's our contact information. Please feel free to reach out and we'd love to help you. Oh, here. I see you, Pam. I'm going to unmute you. Oh, let's see. Can I unmute you?
Yeah, there we go.
Oh,
I'm on.
cool. Thank you, Kelly.
I think Kelly had brought up talking about produce, no cook prepackaged produce bags.
Yeah.
Is that different than what I get for, the unsheltered people like at the parks and things? Is it a different thing?
It is, Pamela. So the No Cook Bags is actually an official program of the SLO Food Bank that Susie and I actually manage, and
Okay.
those are shelf stable.
Right.
And quick and easy. I think the produce bags were kind of born out of a recent transition because we used to have here at the warehouse an on-site full client choice pantry, and that included a lot of produce. And now we're offering pre-packaged shelf stable units of food, not only the no cook bags, but similar to kind of the disaster relief boxes that are
Hmm.
sometimes on Primarius. So they'll have spaghetti sauce, kind of enough to make some meals for a family. But then we noticed the produce was missing. So we were
Right.
including our produce bags that normally go out at neighborhood food distribution, which are standardized. But then we also were seeing not just the unhoused population coming to the warehouse a lot to receive food, but also some clients coming in and we'd offer a produce bag and they would just voice a concern that they didn't have the means to cook some of the produce in there. So while it's not something that we're offering across all programs, it was something here that during this transition from, a full choice pantry to now prepackaged food, it was just another way for us to be able to better meet the needs. So that was mostly based on feedback post after that transition.
Does it sound like something you're going to keep going with then and keep using?
Here, I think for now, definitely during this transition time, and because it's only kind of for our on-site stuff, it's easy to manage to
Uh,
throw in a couple items. But we can, if you're wondering what's in the bags, I'm happy to open them up and send you kind of how our warehouse determines which one goes in each.
yeah, because what I've been doing is, the unsheltered bags. I have a small amount that we do, like maybe 5 or 6 people that I do. But
Hmm.
then I'll throw in apples or oranges or whatever that we happen to have. So that's kind of what I was just wondering if that no cook produce might, if they might benefit from it.
Yeah, so I could definitely look at what we've been putting in them and just in case there's something that's not already overlapping, but it kind of sounds like you've already implemented your own too, which is really, really awesome.
Okay.
And then sometimes too with clients, that is an opportunity to have a conversation with them because even with the pre-bagged like no cook produce bags, there still might be something in there that's not necessarily feasible for them, or maybe they have an allergy to a specific fruit. So that's kind of too where it's a nice opportunity for just additionals, but also exactly what someone might want.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you for the great question, Pam. Um, and I'm looking and from Carrie, no questions, but wow, thank you or wow, so many great ideas. And I'm so excited to reach out for additional resources. We are so excited to provide those for you. And that, of course, goes for everyone. And then I also see a question from Terry Vale. Will you be sending out a link to the recorded session? Yes, we will be. I know but leading up to this, we had a number of people saying, I'm very interested, but unfortunately, we can't attend that time. So we'll be able to, well, we're transcribing it as well. So we'll be providing the slides, the transcription, and the recording out for everyone. All right. If there are no other questions, I wanted to let you guys know that we will be hosting our next learning webinar. It will be on Thursday, January 12th at the same time via Teams, and that will be focusing on CalFresh outreach for agency partners. We are still fleshing this out. We might add more information or figure out how to really hone it in, but that will be the general topic that we will be going over during that time. I also wanted to thank you all for attending and a particular thanks to all of the agency partners that so graciously welcomed us to their pantries on a little bit of a short notice and allowed us to take pictures of them. They had amazing visitors that allowed us to ask them questions, get a lot of feedback from them. So I wanted to highlight St. Patrick's Outreach, the King's Cupboard, Alf Food Pantry, Mountain Brook Community Church, and New Life Church for letting us come and visit. And before I let you guys all go, we have 3 quick reminders. One is November Holiday Meats pre-ordering. That closes on Monday, October 17th. So the link for the pre-ordering can be found on Primarius or PWW landing page. And then also we have 2 surveys currently out for feedback. So if you're able to fill those out, that'd be wonderful. The first is the food quality and satisfaction survey. If there's food you like, if there's food you don't like, this is the time to let us know. We really do look through this. We comb through it, identify what foods we should and should not order. There's oftentimes comment sections. So if you're like, I could really use almond pudding again, let us know and we'll try to make that happen. And the next one is Agency Partner Food Rescue Survey. This is really for all agency partners. It's part of an ongoing effort to reduce the amount of food waste heading to landfills. And a great way to do that is to make sure that edible food, which there's plenty of, gets to pantries like you guys instead of to the landfill. So if you have any questions about those surveys, please feel free to either reach out to me or Kelly. We can either field those questions or direct you to Emily Hansen and Dre Richards, who are conducting those surveys respectfully. And with that, thank you guys. Really loved going through all this, and excited to see where it kind of takes us in the future. So yeah.
Great. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you. Good job.
And I hope everybody has a lovely weekend.
Yeah.
That's where my
Bye.
brain is. Bye.